It's your boy, A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. And that is your boy. Listen, this is one of those forgotten semi masterpieces. Okay, if you research how this book came to be and the writer, it's sad how this guy ended up. But anyway, A Confederacy of Dunces. Now, the title alone is big swag. Okay, that should make you read this book. But there's a little quote here that I found quite interesting from uh, Jonathan Swift, and he says something. I'm gonna have to translate this. Is if a real genius may appear in this world, you will know him from this sign. And the sign is that all of the dunces shall uh, uh, shall converge in a confederacy against him. So all of the dunces shall converge in a confederacy against him, right? Against the genius, and that is a nice quote, Jonathan Swift. Uh, this book, this novel is a gold mine. This is a gold nugget right here. And listen, the story the story is not necessarily subpar, but it's kind of bland. It's a day to day kind of thing, right? Nothing is extraordinary, right? Nothing is excellent, exquisite in the story. But listen, what this author does here. Listen, the writing is all right, but the comedy here and the intelligence, they remind me of Joseph Heller, Catch 22, and in the absurdist way that our protagonist, Riley, listen, he's a character. He sticks out, and that this character, he is what makes this novel pop. Listen, the other characters, they're all right. The story, fine, but this guy is a masterpiece of a character. Listen, this guy is surreal. He is absurd. He is preposterous in every sense, and it's just wow, 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 wow. You rarely find a character like this. Like I said, most authors either have a great story and poor characters, or a lacking story and wonderful characters. Most writers cannot do both. It is a very rare talent, and this book is all about this guy, Riley. Okay, you have to read this book. This is a forgotten gem solely because of this guy. This guy is the way he looks, the way he dresses, his mannerisms, the way he speaks. He writes these little notes and he puts them in his pockets with food and soda. It's just hilarious. And he's like 40 something. This guy is something else. And the title alone should make you want to read this book. Now, the rest of the story, like I said, it's nothing special. There are little pieces here and there that stick out, particularly with the comedy. And of course, it is an intelligent comedy. It isn't just, a lame joke here and there. And, I don't want to spoil much because discovering this and just reading along is just, it's a treat. Like I said before, because of this guy. This guy is legendary. This guy is big swag. And, he lives with delusions of grandeur. I mean, he imagines himself as this educated, learned, uh, academic, if you want, and his just wow, his life is just hanging by a thread. It is in absolute chaos, and so on. It's a joke. How he perceives himself and others is just hilarious. Hilarious. This is peak comedy. And listen, if this guy wasn't in here, this book would have been banal. Okay, but because of this guy right here, I would call this the Confederacy of Dunces. I would call it a semi masterpiece where it's pretty great, but it's missing something crucial. All right, and that is the plot. Okay, you can carry an entire book with one character. That's great, but if you don't have a plot on that same level, or something close to it, I mean, this guy, he holds this book together. Okay, and the plot is thin here and there, and you know it's not tiring. That's a good thing. But at the same time, listen, I love this guy, but sometimes he can be too much. All right, sometimes he's too much. But anyway, this you should definitely read this. This is worth rereading, which makes it a great book. That is the definition of a great book. If you're gonna read it again, and I will, just because of this guy, the writer, genius, the way he wrote this guy, absolutely. I mean, this guy writes notes, just nonsense, puts them in everywhere, in his pockets, everywhere, and he has food in his pockets, and he's obese, and he thinks he's so smart, but he isn't, and he went to college, and he did nothing there. He got kicked out, and etc. His mom, of course, which goes back to the author's real life story. You gotta do some research about that. Um, there's not enough praise for this book. And listen, it's hard to do an original character where it's like the stupid hat he's wearing. It's like, bro. But anyway, of course, everything in this book is preposterous, absurd, surreal, hilarious, ludicrous, whatever you want to call it, irrational. This is a book worth reading, and you know, it's comedic, and that's about it. Again, the title alone is phenomenal. Read this book. Who knows? Maybe a generation from now, or somewhere in the future, this will be a masterpiece, a full-fledged masterpiece. Because in part, now listen, in part it deserves that title. Because it is so special in a way. You can tell that there was a lot of care and attention from the writer. And that's about it. This is an interesting read. Not a lot of people know about this book or about this writer. Check it out. I tried to find some of his other books. I think he has at least one more, and it's hard. It's hard because he's not that popular. He's not that well known, and it's a damn shame because he has the hallmarks of a genius in the making. Okay, and read this book. This book might be just what you're looking for. It is phenomenal.